Hi everybody, welcome to my channel today, and you are always welcome. It is hard for me today to buckle down and do research on the royal family, Harry and Meghan, and other rich and filthy rich people, because there are other bigger concerns. Although I do believe that the royal family has a small role to play in those concerns, but we'll get to that. You see, at the moment, there are many things which I just cannot figure out, which just does not make sense to me at all. And this morning, it even drove me to look up a word I always thought I knew the meaning of. And I looked it up in different dictionaries, etc., etc., and the word is indeed sovereignty. The absolute 100% best description I could find was the following, which incidentally was published on the website of the Cornell Law School. Sovereignty is a political concept that refers to a dominant power or supreme authority. In a monarchy, supreme power resides in the sovereign, such as a king or a queen. In modern democracies, sovereign power rests with the people and is exercised through representative bodies such as Congress or Parliament. So, suffice it to say, I still cannot understand how the United States was not breaking international law by seizing Maduro from his bedroom inside his own country. And it's not about whether Maduro was a bastard or not. It is... And, I mean, how do we even know that what he is being charged with is even true? Didn't the United States attack a country because it had weapons of mass destruction, and then it came out years later that it was not true? So in the case of Venezuela, it was all about drugs, and now it turns out that it actually had little to do with drugs. As a matter of fact, I would even venture so far and say it had nothing to do with drugs. So my question is, how would you or any of us feel if the same was to happen to us tomorrow or next week? What if Starmer is taken overnight, or Macron, or even our Ramaphosa, or even Putin, or old Xi of China? Yes, none of them are very popular, to say the least, but isn't it the job and the right for a country and its people to remove their own crazy leaders? If it becomes the right of another country to do so, then the word sovereignty can just as well be removed from the dictionary. What if Colombia or Iran or whoever is to sneak in and remove Trump from his bed tomorrow? What chaos and pandemonium that would cause. Now, okay, I studied, and sovereignty would not have come into it had it been an act of war. But Marco Rubio still maintains that there is no war between the United States and Venezuela. Now, I want to thank you all, all of you who send me information. And yes, I think I now fully understand that Maduro is a crook, a bad person. I would say even that typical mafia type, well, at least from my understanding. So it is not about the person for me, but about the sovereignty of a nation and the legality of it. Of course, now we know it was all about oil and power. Not only about obtaining oil, but to keep it from others. But we'll continue this particular conversation over on Substack over the next few days, because I do not think this is a subject I should delve into too deeply on YouTube. I would, however, suggest that those of you who are interested in the subject and share certain concerns with me go watch a video by the Redacted channel titled "This is Not Going to End Well," where Clayton Morris of Redacted had an interview with Colonel Dan Davis. It is a 17-minute interview, and if you go listen to it, please try to listen right to the end, because you need to follow the Colonel's logic. Okay, so talking about sovereigns and sovereignty, let's go talk about Britain's sovereign, his sons and his daughters, etc., and the law. Now, okay, guys, remember the good old days when we were all arguing as to whether Charles could or could not strip Harry's titles? And I think, if I think back, it was only Paula M. and I who consistently told you that he could, who consistently told you that the laws were changed in 1917. It was only non-royal peerage titles the king could not touch without a legally valid reason and without Parliament. All royal titles are gifts by the grace of Her or His Majesty. Well, those arguments went on for years and years and years until Charles proved us right and took away his brother's princely title. And then, with a letters patent to Parliament, he also took his ducal and whatever other title or titles he may have had. Wham bam, thank you ma'am, done, in a matter of days. Okay, so then we started a new argument, and that argument rests squarely on the word sovereign or sovereignty, because to this day the elite, royalists and royal rota will argue that the king cannot dissolve Parliament. Well, he can. Whether he should is another matter for another discussion on another video. I think the last king who did that lost his head, if I remember correctly. But hopefully we are more civilized now, although even that is debatable. Anywho, everyone says that the king cannot dissolve Parliament without the Prime Minister's request. Well, there's a huge difference between whether he can or whether he should, because legally the King of England can legally dissolve Parliament without the Prime Minister's request, as it is a royal prerogative. So let's quickly look at the law books, and not the people's opinion, the actual law books. And it reads, the Dissolution and Calling of Parliament Act 2022 restored the monarch's prerogative power to dissolve Parliament, which had been limited by the Fixed Term Parliaments Act 2011. Okay, so there you have it. Not a la bookworm, but according to the law of the United Kingdom. But before I start sounding too smug, let me tell you what my friends, the real clever people, have to say. They say, well, these scholars, and you have to believe them because they had a hand in it all. They know, and they were kind enough to, well, share and reply, even though it was, I think, a copy and paste, but never mind. I am eternally grateful for the response, although it took something like, I think, 3 months. The power for the king to dissolve Parliament exists in the law, but it is almost never used independently due to constitutional convention, and it should only be used as a last resort, because no country, least of all England, want a dictator instead of a king. However, there are circumstances under which a king should listen to the will of his people, and those are: if a prime minister refuses to ask for dissolution when he can clearly no longer command a majority and has lost the confidence of his parliament and constituents, then the monarch should intervene. And secondly, in a scenario where a government is either tyrannical or is acting illegally, the monarch should or could use his reserve power. So there you have it, my dears, and Bookworm can't change it or even say it better or clearer. What Bookworm also cannot do is decide for the people of the United Kingdom whether your Prime Minister or Parliament falls into that classification or criteria. That is all up to you. What does concern me is that Sir Keir is not even telling the truth to his own MPs. Yep, Sir Keir, did not tell his own MPs how many troops he would commit to Ukraine. Just said that it will be in accordance to their military plans. There is word of, and I quote, an additional 3,000 full-time troops, or from someone else, and I quote, fewer than 7,000. Now, whether that means anything to you, it does not mean much to me, because I do not know how big the United Kingdom's military actually is and what percentage of your military that would be. Anyway, so tell me what you think. Do you think it is too late for the monarch, King Charles, to sack his Prime Minister? Are they already in too deep? I don't know. I'm reading as much as I can, and yet I cannot decide. So if you could, please let me know in the comments section shortly what you think, how you feel. Okay, my dear friends, before I leave today's video, which I honestly hope you will understand comes from a place of deep caring for all my friends and family in other countries, be it the United Kingdom, the United States, Canada, New Zealand, Australia, Bahamas, wherever. I worry for you as much as I worry for us here in the bottom part of Africa. I'm searching for the truth and understanding, and definitely not to insult or hurt or harm anyone. Okay, my dears, so when I come back, we need to discuss another very serious topic, and that would be William and Catherine. And we need to have a very long and very serious talk about them, because all of a sudden there is a lot to be said. So until then, please take good care of yourselves, stay out of trouble, and stay safe. Bye.